Good evening, everybody. Welcome to JLive. I'm Joey Barron, the Artistic Director of the Jewish Arts Collaborative, and it's great to be with you tonight. As you know, JLive is our series of virtual cultural experiences that bring us together to explore and celebrate the diverse world of Jewish art, culture, and creative expression. We're bringing you bite-sized conversations with the best area talent. Now, tonight is going to be particularly special. Not only do we have Sarah Aroeste, a gifted singer and songwriter and children's book author, but this is a woman who has performed in concert halls all over the world, and tonight is coming to you live from her Subaru because she lives in the Berkshires and her power is out, and she's such a trooper on this that I just think it's amazing. Be prepared if there are technical difficulties. There are like major storms in Western Mass. We'll reschedule, but I think, she's in her Subaru, she's nice and safe, and off we go. So as always, if you have questions during the conversation, please share them in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, and we'll ask as many as time allows. Also tonight, if you'd like to read translations of the songs you'll be hearing, check that section on your Zoom. And with all that as our intro, Sarah, how about a song live from the Subaru?
So I should preface this, Joey, and all of you listeners, that it's not just that my power went out, we're actually in the middle of a hurricane. So I am safe. I want everybody to know that. But this is quite unusual for me. I have never done a concert from within my car. So I have no idea what will happen in the next few minutes, but thank you for joining me. And in that spirit, I wanted to sing a song to offer myself some serenity and release some for all of you. This season always reminds me that the new year is ahead, and I wanted to sing a song that I wrote to offer a blessing to all of you. It is a song that I wrote called Añada Buena, which is wishing everybody a good year ahead, and couldn't we all use a good year ahead? So we're gonna try this out and see how it goes. May your year be sweet, como la miel. May you hear the shofar, y te despierte añada buena, dulce y alegre. Seas bendito, seas contente. May your vision bear fruit como una manzana. May your soul find peace y grande alegría. Añada buena, dulce y alegre. Seas bendito, seas contente. May your heart be filled por la familia. May you start a new page en el libro de la vida. Añada buena y alegre. Seas bendito, seas contente. Añada buena, dulce y alegre. Seas bendito, seas contente.
How beautiful. It's like...
I should say that having, a microphone and lighting.
I know, this is great.
It was a very lovely, intimate experience there. I hope you all felt that.
So, Sarah, your story's just like wild to me that you've like made this like deep, heartfelt commitment to Ladino culture and Ladino music. And what inspired you? Did your Bobby speak Ladino to you? How did you get involved?
My papu. Yeah, we don't have bubbies.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, I grew up with a very, very strong sense of Sephardic pride, and I knew that my family had this incredible history. My family ended up, after they were kicked out of Spain in 1492, they ended up in the Balkans in the Ottoman Empire, mostly in what is today present-day Macedonia and Greece. And when they came to America, they were escaping war. In their case, it was the Balkan Wars in about 1912, 1913. And they came and they wanted to assimilate quickly into their new country, America. And so they left a lot of their traditions behind. And growing up, I always was so fascinated by my Sephardic culture, but I felt like I was missing something because a lot of the tradition was not passed down to the next generation. I grew up on delicious food and I heard some of the songs, but I always wanted more. So, unfortunately I didn't hear it growing up as much as I would have liked. And that's why I made it so, it just became such a deep rooted passion for me to learn it as I got older, so I could feel connected to my ancestors and my past.
So, and I heard some of this began at your bat mitzvah.
That was my first performance. It really was important to me. I'm not quite sure where it came from, but I really, really wanted to sing a song in Ladino. And now the song is actually pretty common, but this was 30 years ago. And Ein Kelohenu has a Ladino version called Non Como Nuestro Dio, and that was the first time I really performed a Ladino song in front of the public, and I had such a blast doing it, and I really felt connected to it, and I knew from that point on I wanted to do more.
Great. And so from there, where did you go in terms of like studying or preparing for this? How did this all develop professionally?
Well, I always knew I was going to be a musician. I trained very seriously. I played a lot of instruments growing up, and I went to music school for part of high school, where I grew up in Princeton, New Jersey, which is not the hotbed of Sephardic culture, but there was a great music school there called Westminster Choir College, and I got to study there after school most days. And I trained very seriously in Western classical music. I thought I was going to be an opera singer. And that took me to college, where I studied at Yale, and I did a joint program with their Yale School of Music, which is a very well-known music school. And I had a wonderful experience there. And I started auditioning for opera houses and festivals and competitions. And then that took me to Israel, where I sang in the Israel Vocal Arts Institute. And all along the way, I was doing opera, very classical Western music. But while I was in Israel, I just had the great fortune and luck to have an opera coach who shared my Sephardic background, the wonderful late Nico Castell, who just happened to be one of the world's leading experts in Ladino music, and actually published one of the first Ladino songbooks that became very popular. And I was just so lucky that in between our opera coachings, he would teach me some of the very classical Ladino repertoire, which I had never studied before. And I just fell in love with it. And I came back to America, and I continued studying with him. He was an opera coach at the Metropolitan Opera, which was very fun to be able to study with him there. And I did a series of recitals and opera recitals. And in each recital, I had a little section of Ladino music. And without fail, after every performance, audience members would come up to me and tell me that the Ladino portion was their favorite part. And it made sense to me why. I mean, I was clearly singing the music probably with more passion, because I just felt so much more connected to the lyrics and the sentiments behind them. And it took me a while. It was not an instant thing, but within a couple of years, I realized, wow, I agree with them. I like the Ladino more too. And I gave up opera to pursue a full-time career in music.
Okay, so speaking of music, can you tell us about the next song we're going to hear?
Sure. This is actually the very first song that I wrote. And for those of you not familiar with my work, I'm one of the few composers of contemporary Ladino music. So when I started off my career, I did work with traditional repertoire and gave it my own spin. But I'd say for the last decade plus, I've really become known as a composer of this music. So this song is very special to me because it's actually the first song that I composed, and it's about the iconic Chica Morena, the dark-haired girl who was kicked out of Spain and has been wandering the earth ever since just to find her way home. And in many ways it was autobiographical because I listened to the voice of my ancestors, which is one of the lyrics in the song, to help guide me home to my ancestral land. And you'll see in the video that is about to appear that there were a lot of special symbols that helped me connect and hopefully find my place home.
And just as a reminder, you can find the lyrics in the chat section. So let's hear Chica Morena.
Ama de corazón contente, tengo más de 1000 años, he atravesado mares y fronteras, un día tornaré a mi tierra, que el calor de mi madre me espera. Morena me llaman, blanca yo nací, de pasear galana mi color perdí. Sola chica morena, a los reyes he seguido, subido escaleras de oro, casado con el mundo y vivido, besado los pies de mis hijos y las manos de mis hermanos, siguiendo la voz de mis padres, para la puerta de mi madre. Morena me llaman, blanca yo nací, de pasear galana mi color perdí. Morena me llaman, blanca yo nací, de pasear galana mi color perdí.
It's beautiful. It's just great. One of the things that I'm always struck by, having followed your career for a while, is you perform in all kinds of different situations. I've seen you with a jazz combo. I've seen film footage of you with full orchestras. Now I see you in a car. And I'm wondering, like, with all these different settings, where do you see your future going? Do you have a direction that you see yourself moving into?
Ooh, yeah. I think one of the reasons why I've had staying power, because I'll be honest, 20 years ago when I started my career, I went up to my mother and I said, "Mom, I want to start a Ladino rock band." And I can tell you that is not what a mom wants to hear for a 20-year-old daughter. So I never could have imagined 2 decades ago that I would actually be sitting here in my Subaru talking to you about the future of my career. I didn't think I would even make it this far. So yeah, it's amazing. And I think one of the reasons why I've had such a successful career in this very tiny niche is because I've been able to adapt to a lot of different situations. I do compose, I give a lot of workshops. I love working with kids. During my career, I've had 2 kids, and that started a whole new route for me. I have a whole children's project, which I think we're going to hear later. I write children's books, and all of them have some sort of Sephardic theme. So I feel like my career now has gone in a few directions, but everything is related. I tell people that I'm in the business of edutainment, because you really need to love and have such a passion for this work, but it's not enough just to perform it. I want there to be a lasting message and a lasting lesson for my audiences. I perform all over the world, and many of my audiences have never even heard of Ladino, or they know nothing about Sephardic Jewry. And so to be able to expose this culture that is so important to me to brand new audiences, it's such a delight. And to the extent that I can continue to do that for decades longer, as long as people keep on booking me, I'll keep on doing this work.
So let's just to show the spectrum, let's the next piece is a live recording, and do you want to tell us about?
Sure. This was recorded in Israel, in Tel Aviv, live in Tel Aviv. It was about 2012. It was off of my my record Gracia. And this song, again, was one that I wrote that I'm very proud of, because it really used very deep symbolism. I based the song, it's called Elion Ferido, on an 11th century Judeo-Spanish poet named Samuel Hanagid. And all my work is deeply rooted in Sephardic symbolism of some sort. And this song really struck me, because it's based on a poem, a 4-line poem by Samuel Hanagid that goes like this. It says, when you feel like you've lost all hope in the world and you're standing at death's door, strengthen your heart and remember, the lamp still has light before it's extinguished, and the lion still knows how to roar. And for me, that imagery was so on point with how I felt with Ladino culture. A lot of people think Ladino is at death's door, and that, why am I working in a culture that barely exists anymore? And to them, I say, we still have a lot of roar. And so this song I wrote around that poem to make that point. And so this was a live recording in 2012 with a string ensemble and a full, I think, 9-piece band.
Great. Let's watch.
Cuando el mundo habla una lengua que no entiendes y tus pensadas no tienen traducción. Cuando las palabras viajan a vagar y se pierden durante la transmisión. Cuando tu amante de la vida es no como lo encontrás y su color y sabor te son extrañas. Cuando tú vives tu día como un actor, más nadie está en la niebla. Los tiempos de grande abredor fortalece tu corazón. Afilo si tú estás en la puerta de la muerte. La lámpara tiene luz antes que se mató. Afilo si tú estás en la puerta de la muerte. El león herido ainda sabe cuando tú temes que esto es todo que tienes y no hay más llenas en la obra de tu vida. Cuando tú demandas sí, ahora ya no estaré. Si tú puedes tomar otra visión. En los tiempos de grande abredor, fortalece tu corazón. Afilo si tú estás en la puerta de la muerte. La lámpara tiene luz antes que se mató. Afilo si tú estás en la puerta de la muerte. El león herido ainda sabe
So, it's a beautiful performance. And one of the things that strikes me about it is it's a perfect example of how you don't have to know a word of what you're singing, but the song itself gives you such an emotional connection. It's really fabulous.
Yeah, I'd
So,
like to say that, it doesn't matter. Good music is good music, no matter the language. And if you've done your job right, an audience will still feel connected to it by your performance and, by the composition.
okay, and you mentioned, because we kind of have to start to wrap things up now, you mentioned your children's book project, which we happily brought to Hanukkah a couple years ago. And do you want to just tell us a bit about the project, and we'll hear a sample of it?
Sure. So when my children were born, I wrote this album called Hora de Despertar, and it has a matching little storybook that goes with it, because I was given so many CDs of children's music when I was pregnant, and everything was delightful, but I wanted something that I felt like my kids could really latch on to, that represented their background. So I searched high and low for a Ladino children's album, and there wasn't one, of course. So I thought, hey, in Sarah Aroeste style, I'm gonna write my own. So that's what I did. I wrote this record, and Hora de despertar literally means time to wake up, the hour of waking. And for kids, it's a really fun little song about literally all the rituals that you do to get ready in the morning, from brushing your teeth and stretching. But for parents, it's a much bigger message, right? That it's time to wake up. We need to start passing these traditions on to our kids before it's too late. And for those for whom Sephardic culture is not their background, it's time to wake up and learn that there are these other wonderful, rich traditions of Jewish culture, and we need to be sharing all of the the diversity of Jewish culture with our kids. And that just spawned more and more children's programs. And now I have another book, Buen Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, and a few other children's projects that I'm really, really proud of. But I do believe that children are our future. This culture is not going to live on if we can't start passing it on and adapting and creating new material that is vibrant and exciting and joyous to pass on to future generations.
So let's see a sample. What fun. So before we wrap up, there's a question and a comment for you. I'm going to do my best with the comment. It's from Lucille, and it says, Añada bueno y alegra, Sarah, y con salud buena. So,
well, thank you. Añada bueno y dulce y alegre to you too. That's a Happy New Year message and blessing that we say in Ladino.
Nice. And the other question is, which I think is an interesting one, which we'll have to you can answer it briefly now because it's really a whole other session, is do you think we'll be seeing a revival of the study and performance of Ladino like we're seeing with klezmer and Yiddish?
I think we're in the midst of it, and I have to say, as horrible, as devastating as COVID has been, surprisingly, it has helped precipitate this strange interest in Ladino, because there have been offerings even in the last 3 months online that have brought together thousands of people to study in a way that we have never seen before. And it's quite strange and beautiful. So the language itself, I think, is getting a tremendous amount of interest. And there are courses and academic centers throughout the United States now. At least 5 universities are teaching, 4 or 5 universities are teaching Ladino. So I think from the academic perspective, there really truly has been a revival going on in the last year or two. And with music and performance, there are many performers out there now. Not as many contemporary performers like myself, but it's a growing field. We just don't have your numbers like klezmer has. So, all the different iterations of, klezmer jazz and klezmer funk and klezmer punk and klezmer this and klezmer that happened, 15 or so years ago. We're not there yet with Ladino, but I'd say that all the performers I know, we all have a very distinct flair that's really lovely. And we all know each other. It's definitely a community, and I think we all support each other. So yeah, I'd like to see more contemporary musicians.
And I think, to just follow up on that, one of the ways that revival can take shape is if everybody here just listens to more Ladino music, if they check out your website and check out your things, and just follow going on, because there's really some interesting work.
Yeah, can I just comment on the last question that I see here quickly?
Sure.
So another way to exhibit revival, there's a question from Philadelphia about the Monastir project, which there's a plug to go on my website to learn more, but I am trying to revive Ladino music in ways that so far haven't been done, at least in certain regions. So my family comes from Monastir, which is now in North Macedonia, and I'm working very hard with a couple of countries, actually, with Israel and Macedonia, to help preserve the Jewish music of that region. So while I am composing new music and also new music for that project, I do think that there is still a lot of untapped material out there. A lot of Ladino musicians tend to tap into the already existing repertoire, and I'd like to see a growing number of people exploring new music that has not been exposed yet. And that's one of the things we're trying to do with the Monastir project, and you can learn all about it on my website. So thank you for asking, Ron.
So it's really time for us to wrap. I just have to say how amazing you have been through this whole thing, and your concern and your charm. You're fabulous.
Thank you, Joey.
So as the JArts tagline says, let culture connect us. To make this possible, we rely on generous community support like yours. If you enjoy the JLive series, please consider donating. You'll find links to donate to JArts and to purchase Sarah's music in the chat. And you can also send her a little Venmo donation if you'd like. Thank you, Sarah. Thank all of you for being here. And don't forget to follow @JArts Boston on Instagram and Facebook for more. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week. Stay dry. Stay safe. Maybe Subaru will sponsor us next time. Thank you.
No trees fell on me during this recording, so that's a good thing. Merci mucho, as say in Ladino. Thank you very, very much, JArts and Joey and everybody who participated. Thank you.
Great. Good night, everyone.